Meno Warriors, welcome back to my channel. It's Kate, where I share a weekly video with you every Monday about something related to menopause. Today, by special request, I am discussing the difference between synthetic, natural and body identical hormones. You might have been wondering whether HRT is going to suit you best. Before I really dive into this, I just want to explain that I've not been on HRT myself, so I am referring anecdotally to the research that I have studied for this. I have taken the lifestyle approach, but while some of us can probably manage our menopausal symptoms with lifestyle change, some of us, despite everything that we're doing with our lifestyle, still need that hormonal support. And there are various evidences suggesting that HRT can help reduce the risk of certain things, and it can also increase the risk of other things. So I just want to cover those in today's episode. So in the earlier days, some 1960s, the typical HRT treatment came from mare's urine. It's called Premarin. And nowadays, the vast majority of treatments come based from plant-based products, so soya and yam. Really, nowadays, you'll get a combination of estrogen and progesterone in much lower doses. And with the different types of administering the HRT, whether you have a gel or a cream or a pill, I'll go into that in some more detail as well, because it's not just a really simple decision as do you do synthetic, body identical. However, the body identical is proving to be the healthiest by far when you are looking at exploring HRT alternatives for yourself. You might have heard that synthetic hormones are dangerous, that HRT is dodgy, it increases your risks of certain things. And if you take it for a prolonged period of time, then what happens to your body? Is it going to hurt you negatively? And there's a lot of confusion and myths out there. And in actual fact, even doing the research for this, it is confusing. It's really hard. And depending on who's written the post, depending on who's shared the video, what interests do they themselves have in sharing their opinions, like me. That's why I always say I come from a very natural, holistic approach, but I also think there is a place for hormone supportive therapies. And this really is, given the evidence that I've been finding, in as non-biased way as possible. I'm just going to try and share that with you so that at least you think, okay, right, well, I understand what the difference between synthetic, bioidentical and body identical hormones are. There's also, I think, there's a stigma about, oh, well, you should be able to do it naturally, and almost shame around taking HRT. And then the other camp is just like, well, why the heck wouldn't you take HRT? You barefooted hippie. And again, we are so prone to jumping in either camp and judging the other camp as wrong. I know this is a really crude example, but it's one that hit me really hard when I was watching it was like a docu film about war. I can't remember it was West against like Iran or Afghanistan or somewhere like that. I wish I could remember the country, I can't. And we always think that wherever we come from is the right methodology. Now, the people where the missiles may have been aimed, they also believe 100% in their ideology and their belief system, or not that they're always driven by religion. I mean, religion is responsible for a lot of wars. And I do stress that this is such a crude way of giving you this example, but whoever is firing missiles at the enemy, you're always, whichever camp you fall in, you're always going to support your camp. You're always going to think your camp is right for whatever reasons you're firing the missiles across to each other. And we tend to be the same with our nutrition. You've got the various food camps, you've got the food terrorists, you've got the keyboard warriors, and the same thing is sort of happening to menopause. You've got the pro HRT and you've got the anti HRT, and it shouldn't be like that. We are all absolutely individual. We are all completely unique, and what makes my lifestyle a happy lifestyle might be different to what makes your lifestyle a happy lifestyle. We all come from different genetics. We all have different behavioral tendencies. Our environments are different, even as far as, are you in a city or are you by the coastline or the countryside? All of these factors play into how you experience your menopausal symptoms, because a lot of it does come down to lifestyle factors to a degree. Is your body burdened with heavy metals from the atmosphere or the water? Is your body burdened by, if you live in a very arable area, are there a lot of pesticides and chemicals being sprayed or put onto the fields? All of these have a negative impact on us. So it's not just about, your body is an isolated thing where nothing else affects it. There are myriad things affecting us every single day of our lives. And so you really do have to take a very holistic approach to whether you want to just try lifestyle and then maybe take HRT later on down the line, or whether you think, no, I absolutely need it. I'm dealing with all these things in my life, and there's no way I want to go through that sort of unknown of various lifestyle factors. The one thing I do want to just preempt this with is I've just done a 4-week, or I'm in the middle of a 4-week gut healing system. For those of you who want just to follow the lifestyle, I cannot believe the positive impact it has had on me in pretty much getting rid of all of my menopause symptoms. Now, it's been really interesting because I traveled from Scotland to Cornwall, and I just briefly, this sort of does have relevance to the rest of this video, but for the 2 days, so the travel to Cornwall, and then I've still not been out shopping, so I've not got the things that I know support my really healthy lifestyle. I've got my hot flushes back already. I had got rid of them completely after about 10 days of following this anti-inflammatory 4-week gut healing system, which actually, you get to eat so much food. It's crazy. All the carbs, the protein, the healthy fats, the veggie, everything that we should eat, but in the right amounts for your sort of your body composition, etc. So I just want to, I really want you to understand how important lifestyle factors are. And sometimes we just need to, make that tiny change in order to have significant improvement. It doesn't need to be, sitting down meditating for half an hour every morning on top of a beautiful mountain overlooking the rainforests and fanning ourselves for the rest of the day, eating grapes. Oh, wouldn't that be lovely? But do you know what I mean? It's something that you can apply to a very busy lifestyle anyway. My schedule is crazy busy, and I've benefited so much by following that 4-week gut healing system. I will drop a link below to it, just in case you want to learn a little bit more about it. But going back to the sort of the concept of this, synthetic, bioidentical, body identical hormones. So what defines each within each category? Synthesized or synthetic? This is something I want to cover first. Don't get confused with the two terminologies. Synthesized applies to synthetic, bioidentical and body identical hormones. Essentially, it's might be from a natural source, but it has been synthesized in a lab to be able to have been put into some cream or gel or pill or some kind of carrier that you can then distribute hormones into your body. And the thing that defines whether they are natural body identical or synthetic hormones is their shape. So it's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, or the shuttle going to the moon to latch onto the docking station. So synthetic hormones, while they fit quite well, if you're landing on a docking station in outer space, you want to make sure that seal is flipping strong and good, and there are no tiny leaks. That is where body identical come in, because they replicate, they are absolute mirror images of your hormones in your body, the receptors for the hormones in your body, because the receptors accept the hormones. So like the receptor is the docking station, and the hormone is the whatever you call it, the rocket. Okay. With synthetic hormones, the docking station is there, the rocket's there, but there's a bit of a sort of leak around the rubber seal. And although it technically could dock, and there might be a bit of hissing and stuff like that because it doesn't fit completely well, and probably explosion if you're in outer space. I don't know how it all works. But essentially, that is not going to be as effective as the seal, like you get with the body identical hormones, where that hormone latches specifically, directly and fully and completely onto that hormone receptor. I hope that makes sense. And also, it's important to know that when you've got that really good seal, all the right information gets transmitted. If the seal's a bit wonky and letting out a bit of air here and maybe fluid there, the right amount of information is not being transmitted effectively. So I hope that metaphor helps you understand that concept. And so body identical hormones have like I said, they're mirror images of your original hormones, or indeed the hormones that you used to produce. Now that you might be postmenopausal, you might have gone through perimenopause and into postmenopause, and you're thinking, oh, I think I need a bit of help support. So the body identical hormones will mimic the natural hormones, absolutely exactly a mirror image of the hormones that you either currently still have in your body or that you would have produced in your body had you not been in postmenopause. And when you're thinking about synthetic estrogen, most HRT now is delivered as a combination of estrogen and progesterone, because one of the side effects of not having enough progesterone, you may have heard of the increased risk of blood clots, the increased risk of heart disease, heart failure, etc. when you take HRT. That is largely because it can, if you just have estrogen, it can contribute to formation of plaques in your arteries. So you've either got a blockage in your artery causing the stroke, or you've got the blockage, which is putting the heart under too much pressure, causing possible heart attack or heart disease. Progesterone helps to break down, so it helps to prevent that plaque forming in the first place. Same with like uterine cancer, endometrial cancer. If you just have estrogen, you can get quite a buildup, thickening of the lining of the uterus. Whereas if you're having progesterone as well, it helps to keep that lining reduced. So like normally you'd have a period when you're not postmenopausal, but and so that gets rid of that lining. But when you are no longer having periods, you would still want some of the progesterone in order to help reduce that lining starting to thicken too much, which then can contribute to a cancer risk. So that really explains why you're at increased risk of estrogen only synthetic hormones, HRT. If when you hear about the risk of strokes and clots, etc., etc. The other thing to consider is when estrogen is taken as a pill, it delivers a large dose of estrogen into the body. So what happens is then the liver gets burdened with that, and it's a larger dose than your body would normally have. Even before you started going through the perimenopause and into postmenopause, you're all of a sudden dealing with this quite a large dose of estrogen. So that's why in a lot of cases now you'd be given a gel or a patch or a cream to rub on, because it has to go through the adipose tissue, sort of the fatty tissue, the fatty cells beneath our skin, and it's just a more gradual deliverance of that estrogen. Plus you can't really overdose on it. It's in your body for sort of 24 hours, so the risks of having too much of it are significantly reduced. Actually, many now of the transdermal ways of administering estrogen into the body are body identical estrogen rather than synthetic estrogen. And so as HRT has evolved, the body identical forms of estrogen are becoming much more widespread. As far as I'm aware, you're able to get it on the NHS when they have them in stock, and a lot of those are through gels, patches, sprays, creams, etc. The benefits of switching to the body identical hormones are just the lower risk factors associated with them. You're getting better messaging when the hormone attaches to the receptor. You are getting it probably in lower doses than you may otherwise have had if you'd had just the purely synthetic form. And yeah, it's science, isn't it? It's an ever evolving field, and right now body identical hormones definitely seem to be the safest method of you having hormonal supplementation throughout your perimenopause and postmenopausal years. So just talking about synthetic progesterone as well, you'll know it's a synthetic version of progesterone because it would be called a progestin. And the same thing happens. So if you're like the synthetic estrogen, it's not going to match absolutely your naturally occurring progesterone. And when that hormone, the synthetic hormone, hits the receptor for that particular hormone, it's not going to lock correctly. It might be a bit skewy. It's like that docking station maybe leaking a bit of water and a bit of air, whereas the body identical progesterone it absolutely mirrors your body's natural progesterone. So it's an absolute perfect match. On top of that, some progestins can make you feel moody, they can make you spotty, they can make you just feel tired, and you're probably having HRT to help you overcome tiredness and mood swings. You definitely don't want to contribute to that. So if you're if you're susceptible to various migraine problems, you know, if you struggle with sore breasts already, that might actually get worse. And so, you know, it's important to understand that the synthetic progestins are not necessarily the cure-all for supporting you in your menopause. And thankfully there's now, you can get it on the NHS. You can get a combined version of body identical estrogen and body identical progesterone, and that is probably going to be your safest way of having the right kind of hormone therapy to support you through your menopause. And when I was looking into bioidentical hormones, that is complicated. There are certain people who say bioidentical hormones are not custom-made bioidentical hormones. And there are other people that say, yes, the bioidentical hormones are the custom-made hormone combinations that are created in labs, that are not ever so well regulated by the sounds of things, and they can also be extremely expensive because it's being shown to create a bespoke approach for you. But everything with bespoke on the label always seems to cost way more than it probably should do. And the research really points to the benefit of body identical. These bioidentical hormones are often put together in a little package for you, dependent on a saliva test or possibly a blood test. But particularly if you're perimenopausal, we know that the hormones are all over the shop all the time. If it's a blood test and you are postmenopausal, or indeed a saliva test, your hormones have already dropped away. They've already dropped off. So unless you know what your pre-menopausal hormone levels were like, it can be very difficult to actually put together an effective bespoke package for you. I'm sure there are people that have the bioidentical bespoke packages and they work really, really well for them. And in fact, if you do, please leave a message below, because I'd be really interested to hear how your success story has been. You may have found that you've been trying and trying and trying, and it's all been trial and error, and you've not really found the percentages of the right balance of hormones that is working best for you. Again, this is not a one size fits all approach. You know, you may need some additional testosterone, you might need some additional DHEA. It is, like I said at the beginning, this is such a complicated issue that while body identical hormones definitely seem to be the healthiest way to go when you're comparing a blanket approach, that might not apply to you. So when should you not take out HRT? You shouldn't take HRT, any form of HRT, if you have an estrogen receptive breast cancer or a risk of that. You shouldn't take HRT if you've had a clot or you have a family history of blood clots. And again, it all goes down back to lifestyle, because what else is there for you? And I know I always bang on about it, but lifestyle is so important. And I follow a healthy lifestyle. And just by doing this gut healing system, I have literally astounded myself at how much of an imposter I felt talking about menopause, because my symptoms went. It was so strange. And then a couple of days of not following the gut healing system very effectively, because I've not had the right food here, my hot flushes have come back. That's the only thing that has changed. It's ridiculous how powerful an impact your lifestyle can have on your journey through the menopause. And a lot of people aren't willing to make those lifestyle changes. You know, you might not want to bother, and you might just want the gels or the creams and whatever. Again, no judgment. It's entirely up to you to know what suits your lifestyle the best. And I think it really depends on your beliefs, your values. For me, knowing that I've done everything I can myself to live a healthy life counts for a lot for me, which is why I would always choose lifestyle first. And then if I need to top up, I would do HRT afterwards. I've not been faced with that situation yet. However, you know, when you research how estrogen affects the body long term, you know, there are studies, there's nothing conclusive yet, but there are studies indicating that you might have a reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease if you take an estrogen supplement beyond menopause. Yeah, we know after menopause, we have a much higher risk of brittle bone disease. Estrogen means that when we have more estrogen in our body, the bones build better than when we don't have it. But then if you drink lots of sodas, you're pretty much peeing out your calcium. It's not as simplistic as just saying it's one thing. It's all interrelated, and that's another reason why I've never gone down the HRT route, because I don't think it's as simple as saying, well, rub that cream on and it's going to fix all these issues and reduce all these risks. I honestly feel a healthy lifestyle absolutely has to be the foundation before you do anything else. But then that's just my opinion. So, you know, what I share here, I hope it's been helpful. It is a little bit confusing. It would appear body identical is the way to go if you're going to use HRT. It would also, I mean, everybody says try the lifestyle things first. You might be in a situation where your life is just so stressful, you've kind of lost where you are in life. You've lost yourself, you've lost your balance, your sort of inner anchor has been disconnected. You might need HRT to get you back onto an even keel so that you can think clearly about, do you actually want to continue with it, or do you want to wean yourself off and support yourself purely with lifestyle factors? Nothing is as simplistic as it would appear, because everything is interrelated. And I think it is so important that you understand that concept, because having a cream might help you a bit. It's not going to fix everything. And same with lifestyle. You know, you can help yourself a lot. It doesn't fix everything. Stress is still out there. Shit still happens. But when you can have a strong foundation from which you're building up of, it definitely helps. It puts you in the driver's seat. And I think when you have that sense of control, that has a huge impact as how you show up every single day. It's a similar thing with your menopause. When you know you're doing things to support yourself and you really are doing things, you're not just thinking, oh, I've had I had 5 portions of vegetables this week. That's quite good. And I didn't have a bottle of wine every night. That doesn't really cut it. You do need to be maintaining a healthy lifestyle. You need to be moving regularly, managing your stress effectively, eating plenty of vegetables, drinking lots of water, eating a healthy, balanced diet. Like I say, this 4-week gut healing system that I've done, I'm eating so much stuff. And while there's, you know, the low carb camp as well, I'm eating more carbs than I normally do, which is strange because I tend to not eat loads of carbs, but I'm still losing weight, even though I'm eating more carbs. I'm eating loads of stuff. It's just ridiculous the amount of stuff I'm getting to eat. Starvation is a stressor. Starvation is not good. Starvation is going to make you probably hang on to more fat when you start to eat again, because we all go back to our default. And sometimes we've lost where our default is. And you can reestablish that with a healthy eating system and just regular, gentle exercise. It doesn't need to be crazy exercise. Just know that it is not just about one single factor. It's a combination of factors that will help you in the various combination of things that affect you physically, mentally, genetically, environmentally. But I do think, just as underpinning this all from the information that I've read, the stuff out there, the studies that I've looked at, body identical certainly seems to be the safest way forward if you are considering going down the HRT route. So I hope that's helped. Please drop me, you know, press the, what is it called, the like button, subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss future episodes. And I'd be really interested to hear if you've had HRT, what your experience of that is. If you've tried the lifestyle way and you failed, not failed, but it didn't suit you and you needed that supplemental HRT. Or if you've decided to follow the lifestyle way, you know, have you managed to do it healthily? Have you managed, do you feel like I feel? I feel brilliant. I hope you do. So thank you for your company, and I look forward to seeing you next week.